everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this episode, we're going to be sharing our thoughts on the new Disney Plus short Kitbull, which was made by Pixar. We're also going to be talking Oscars. We're going to be talking about all of those Star Wars TV show rumors, and we're also going to be talking about Disney Channel kind of will be affected by Disney Plus. So let's jump into some of the news for the past week. So as of just recording, which the Oscars have just kind of finished, there was a new trailer for The Lion King, which I'm going to be honest, I've watched twice, and I think it just feels like an extended opening bit of the scene. It didn't really. I was like, is this new or old? They aired it right through the Oscars. Wasn't really anything there kind of different than I think we've seen before. It didn't blow me off. I mean, you didn't even know that it was there.
Well, I didn't watch the Oscars, and I don't really care to. I haven't. The Oscars haven't been good for a long time, and I'm not even saying that from like a Disney perspective of Disney keeps getting snubbed on, because I know they didn't this year. They got at least a couple of awards. But yeah, even with that, I'm just like, this is a whole bunch of people patting themselves on the back for how smart they are. So I don't really pay a lot of attention to it.
No, it's that kind of weird one of I only ever read the results, because to sit there and watch it, it's not bad, but it kind of indicates often as well like what's good and what's bad. There was a couple of big hits actually from the point of Disney Plus. There's going to be a few there. Black Panther picked up a few technical awards, which at least they got something. I think they picked up like 3 awards or something. They got all kinds of what did they get? They got best animated feature was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was, I think, a lot better than Incredibles 2 and Ralph Breaks the Internet. But I don't think that one's going to be coming to Disney Plus. This one
not soon, anyway.
Yeah, best documentary feature was Free Solo, which was a National Geographic movie. So I think that one will probably everything from National Geographic is going to be coming on there. So Free Solo, that's something that should be quite interesting. The fact that they picked up best documentary. Best original score was Black Panther, Ludwig Göransson, who's doing the music for Star Wars The Mandalorian. So that's kind of quite cool. Black Panther also won best production design. Best costume design was also Black Panther. Best visual effects was First Man. I haven't seen that on there. I up against Avengers: Infinity War, Solo, and Christopher Robin. How Christopher Robin didn't win, because Pooh was amazing in that movie.
The special effects almost always goes to like a drama kind of movie rather than a spectacle movie, which is what you might expect it to. So I'm glad First Man won. It was one of my top movies of the year, but I'm also a huge fan of the early days of the space program, so I'm kind of biased. That said, despite what the topic of the movie was, it really wasn't that special effects heavy, at least not in a noticeable way. Maybe that's why it was won. Maybe it won because the special effects weren't noticeable. I don't know. But anyway, it's not a Disney movie, so
no. Boyo, how do you pronounce that? Boy, the little short one from Incredibles 2 with the little dumpling, that one best animated short, so that'll be coming to Disney Plus as well. Other than
I hated that short.
Yeah, I kind of liked it. I kind of like that one. Bohemian Rhapsody picked up quite a lot of awards as well, which I thought was a great movie. So that was definitely well worth. But that'll be going no doubt to Hulu, because it definitely feels like now we're at a point now with Disney and stuff where we can kind of see where they're being a little bit more open about what they're doing. They're talking about how they're going to sort of splinter their content a little bit. Hopefully it becomes a little bit more clearer in April when we find out all the information there. Quick update on the Fox Disney stuff. Also, there's been a stumbling block with Mexico and Brazil. That looks like that's come to an end. There was a bit of an issue from their governments on the sports between ESPN and Fox Sports. The deal seems to have been done where Disney are going to sell off Fox Sports in those 2 countries to get the go-ahead. So that's the 2 main stumbling blocks. They've kind of seem to have come together. I thought at one point that it was going to be kicked back till March, maybe even later, but it seems like at the last minute they've kind of done the deal. So that could literally, I wouldn't surprise me any day now we could hear we could hear the deal's done and finished, and that's really gonna. Those were the two final stumbling blocks. Was Brazil and Mexico about the sports channels, and Disney have kind of said we'll sell Fox Sports off. So it's that could be being finished anytime soon now.
Right, and I wouldn't undersell how important the Fox Sports network is in Brazil and these countries. I don't know what the current state of who broadcasts what, but when you're talking down there, any connection to say soccer or football is huge. And if Fox Sports, I don't know if it was, but if Fox Sports was in any way connected to those sports, that is a pretty big deal for Disney. But if they were willing to say, all right, it's not worth the legal trouble, we just want this deal done, then that also says quite a bit about their attitude towards getting the deal done.
I think there's that thing with the whole process of getting the deal done. They're so deep into it. They've kind of integrated people. They're ready to do it. They know what they're looking forward to. They knew this was going to be coming in. I mean, sports seems to be the definite big thing of Fox Sports and ESPN. Them not wanting too much. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that ESPN can't go after those contracts once it's sorted and bits and pieces. But there was the same issue with the US, that the US said that they had to sell off 22 regional sports companies. The only good thing is really from Disney is that by the time they sell off all these assets, by the time they get rid of ESPN or the sports channels, Fox Sports down in Europe, in Mexico and Brazil, get the money back for Sky. This purchase price is just going to keep dropping down. So it's not actually that big number that got thrown around is already probably half that, because I know Sky alone was nearly 40 billion or something. It's not quite such a big deal once they start selling off all those different assets.
It's still billions of dollars, but when it comes to corporate money, the number that you see is almost never the number that things actually are. We know that from movies quite well. I remember very vividly Spider-Man, the first two movies that were just called Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. They made a lot of money at the box office, and on a revenue sheet, they looked like they made a lot of money, but there was this whole scandal with Stan Lee not getting royalties from those movies because Sony came back and was like, no, look, they didn't actually make money because we had all these other expenses on top of it. And like, there was kind of some side eye going on there. I think Stan Lee eventually won the court case for it, but the number you see isn't the real number. And this is why high-level accountants get paid so much, is they can make those numbers look any way you want. You can take the original Avengers, $1.x billion, and if you twist those numbers enough, you can make it look like an unprofitable movie. Yeah. So yeah.
So speaking of profits, let's move over to a story that kind of caught attention. There was an article, I think it was over at the Information, about the effect of what Disney Plus is going to do in Latin America and also in Europe with regards to the Disney channels. There's basically talk that they're going to start shutting down the channels, that they're probably going to keep the Disney Channel running, but they're talking about lack of content because currently obviously you've got Disney Junior, Disney XD, and the Disney Channel, and they're talking about how all the new content is all going towards Disney Plus, and the channels aren't making as much money because of ratings and stuff, and they're going to be looking to cut some of the channels down. Now this, to be honest, I looked at this as a little bit like, yeah, we kind of saw this coming, but obviously for some people, that maybe aren't, a lot of people aren't aware of Disney Plus and stuff yet that's coming. But Disney have been making this in other countries. Australia and New Zealand lost Disney XD. India saw Disney XD become Marvel HQ. There's general consensus that Disney XD is kind of wrapping up in America. They've been moving all the shows off of Disney XD and putting them on the main Disney channel, which makes sense from the point of view of Disney aren't looking at broadcast television. They're not making as much as they used to. The profits dropping. Makes sense for them to start pulling back. And this is going to be the big thing of the channels are starting the process of easing things off there. And you are going to see this change because, let's be honest, kids are watching on demand. They're used to on demand. They're not sitting there going, well, at 8 o'clock this morning, this show's on. No, they just go on there and watch it. The kids are the fastest ones to have adapted to video on demand. And yeah, it makes total sense for Disney to start winding down, not necessarily to get rid of everything, but do they need free channels? Probably not.
No, and they also will find a certain amount of life of rerunning Disney Plus content. You get you drop the 13 episodes of whatever series, and then maybe a month or two down the line, you've already got the shows, and now you've got airtime that you've got nothing else showing in. Throw them on the Disney channels. But yeah, as kids move farther away from traditional media, it makes more sense to have it all on demand.
I suspect they are, they said about the fact of keeping the main Disney channel. There's still going to be that audience, and they're still going to want to do that. But it kind of makes sense for them to maybe trim back to having just a one channel and push Disney Plus, because they want to get this international. But I sort of read this, and there were some people kind of upset about it. But at the same time, I'm going, well, this is something that's been leading at for a while. They've been doing this in other countries. They aren't going to need. They said they haven't got enough content to run on all the free channels anymore, because they're siphoning so much off the Disney Plus, and it makes sense. Disney XD was a big. I mean, I know whenever I flick on there and look on the live bit, you got like Overwatch, and they've been filling it up with gaming stuff, because essentially that's like a cheap way of creating content. I mean, I'd love to. It's that kind of weird thing and it's amazing how much like IGN and gaming stuff moved over to Disney XD. But that, and also I'm wondering, like with Freeform, I think Freeform is another platform which they've said that they're lying in this weird bit between Hulu and Disney Plus, and the boat in charge was there going, well, we're kind of somewhere in between. Hopefully we'll find out soon what's going on. It's going, well, you can't lie between the two. You can't have Pretty Little Liars at one end going, find this on Hulu, and then the next show going, find this. That's too confusing. The channel's going to have to go one way there. And Freeview to me feels much more of a natural fit for Disney Plus, and because if ABC stuff goes on to Hulu, they're gonna want more adult teenage stuff on Disney Plus as well. So it's really weird. Obviously they're gonna reshuffle everything around. Freeform have got loads of stuff coming in, but it kind of, they've got their own streaming thing as well, but I'm expecting that will probably be shut down as well at some point.
Yeah, and you're talking Freeform specifically, kind of like, honestly, until it was announced that Cloak and Dagger was on that show, I didn't even know Freeform was a thing. Granted, I don't have a kid. Maybe I would have been more aware of it if I had to deal with kids more often. But it just seems like it's just kind of a thing floating out there without much of an identity, and it would make more sense to just kind of fold that stuff into other locations and not have the expense of yet another channel on the network.
Yeah, Freeform has always been that weird one. It was like ABC Family, then it became Freeform, and they kind of went a little bit edgy, but then they were like, you look on there to see what's on there, and there's tons of like Disney movies, there's tons of Disney comedies, there's they got The Lion King and they got Aladdin, and then they've got these like more, I think the thing is they're a little bit more edgy because they're aimed at teenagers, and there's that thing, nothing on that channel is above a TV 14, so it's not like, you're sort of looking at it going, this all makes much more sense on the Disney Plus side. And it's like, they're not going to want to put too much onto Hulu yet. They're going to want to boost they can't, it's like, oh, well, all the Disney Channel stuff and Star Wars. I'm looking at like Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Avengers Infinity War going, yeah, there's some serious stuff going on in here. It's not like, it's all like Disney Channel stuff. They're going to want to have things like Pretty Liars and the spin-off and that. But we see a lot of this stuff on streaming networks. Like for me, Cloak and Dagger was on Amazon over here, and Pretty Little Liars was on Netflix. So for me, we didn't have Freeform, but in the US, I mean, I hate the name anyway, but it does seem like we are going to see a big shift once once the Fox deal's done. Hulu's under control, Disney Plus. You are going to see them shuffle things around again.
Yeah, and it's a question of when rather than a question of if, really. And probably it needs to happen. And Disney's not the only place it needs to happen. Some of these channels over the years have gotten very bloated with the amount of secondary channels attached to them. And it's just not going to work anymore. Consumers don't want to buy cable packages with 1,000 channels anymore. They want the channels that they specifically want, and that's that's where the streaming services, Netflix, Disney Plus, etc., come into play. Excuse me.
Yeah. So we'll obviously where this go. We've probably got a little. I expect we're not going to hear too much more now because we had that big press event the last few weeks. There's been a lot of information coming out from that. And now let's jump over to Star Wars. This week there has been a barrage of Star Wars rumors because basically there was like essentially if you could name a Disney character, it kind of or a Star Wars character, it was kind of being thrown out as being having its own spin-off series. The list was kind of even I'm sitting there right going, I was like, it was feeling like what we had a couple of weeks ago with Marvel, where if there's a character you could name it and it's getting a Disney Plus show, because we've had Korra, Lando, Rey, or not Rey, Finn, Poe, Captain Phasma, Knights of Ren. Then we had Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, Obi-Wan Kenobi one was kind of picking up a bit more steam. All of this was going on. There's been lots of talk about, what's this going on? Obi-Wan apparently is the highest priority because there was that TV series and Ewan McGregor wants to do it and all the rest of it. Then, just after all of this, was it Fampa Tracks then managed to discover that Disney have created a new company for the third Disney Plus series. They registered back in October. Nothing's been happening, but they had a history of finding out the production companies for all the Star Wars movies in the past. So they've got a history of discovering them before, and they're expecting an announcement at Star Wars Celebration for a third series. So it kind of was like, well, think of like rumor, and then suddenly a little bit of evidence coming through at the end of it all, going that there is obviously a third show in production. What kind of did you think of all of this?
Well, first, I don't give much credence to rumors in general, especially when all we know or all we think we know is that there is a third series coming out. Now, honestly, I think it would be foolish to think that there's only a third series coming out. Yeah. They have to be looking at content 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the road from now. So if they probably have several dozen shows in production. Now, many of them won't get made. They'll get canceled before they reach that point, but we will get Star Wars content probably every year. Yeah. The one that you mentioned was Obi-Wan Kenobi, got a lot of traction, but from what I could see, there was no evidence for that. It was simply people were like, we want Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I'm like, well, I want Obi-Wan Kenobi too. I want to see Ewan McGregor back in action as Obi-Wan Kenobi. But getting him on a TV series, yeah, he did Fargo, but it might not be that easy to get him onto a television series kind of thing. And then, of course, there was the actual confirmation. Well, mostly confirmation that, yeah, there's probably going to be an announcement at Star Wars Celebration. But this is like watching psychic television. It's like, yeah, you pulled the most obvious rumor you possibly could. Yeah, chances are you're right. Yeah. So I don't give any credibility to any of the rumors about what the content of this movie is. Everybody's just got conjecture based on what they want to see. And I'll be honest, I'd be happy with almost any of these shows that they mentioned, including ones from the, if Rose or Finn or something like that. I realize it's not popular, but whatever. I'm sure they do a good job with it. And again, there's absolutely a third show in development. There's also a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, and the seventh. So it's one of those things where you're like, yeah, I can make a prediction too. Yeah. They're going to have episode 9 information at Star Wars Celebration. That's my prediction. I'm really confident with that one.
It was one of those things of these rumors coming through of like, it was like show after show, and it's like going, hold on, this is feeling more like a character list from Star Wars than an actual, there was nothing to it. I kind of was very much in the article was kind of going, please take this with a huge grain of salt. I was like, a series based on Rose, I'd go, yeah, probably not. It's like, that's probably not high up on their list of things to do. A series with her in it, great.
Right.
But, if they did a Finn, Poe, and Rose as a part of the Resistance, fantastic. I'd love it. But, yeah, not a Rose, Star Wars, the Rose story probably isn't going to bring in big numbers. But I think all these different things floating around, yeah, sounds good. I'd like to see a series based around the Solo era with Darth Maul and, You know, that whole era, that could be quite kind of fun. I think as well, because a lot of these actors as well have been in TV series, they kind of go, well, they could do, you know, you could get them in to do it. I think we are going to see them. I don't think it's a bad idea for them to get ahead of it at Star Wars Celebration and go, right, this is the third series, but it's not coming till 2021, 2021 probably by then, because I don't think we're going to see Captain Cassian until, you know, that's not even going into production until end of this year. So it's that kind of thing. They don't want to announce stuff too early, but if they're starting production and things like that, who knows? I mean, we could get 2 series a year. Look at the Marvel TV shows. How many series do we get of Marvel a year? I kind of think 1 series a year probably is enough, but you know, look at what they're doing with Marvel.
Yeah, and if you do look at Marvel, you can also go, it doesn't mean that these shows have to be action shows. I think a lot of people assume that when you say, oh, we're going to do an Obi-Wan show, that it's going to be a live action Obi-Wan show with Ewan McGregor, possibly cameos with Liam Neeson or something like that, or Hayden Christensen. It's like, it doesn't have to be. It could be an animated show. It could be just Ewan McGregor's voice. It doesn't even have to be his voice. It could be Arnold, blanking on the rest of his name, but the guy who voiced Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Clone Wars and briefly in Rebels. You know, so there's a lot of different ways they could go with it, and that's even assuming it's Obi-Wan. You know, it could be freaking IG-88 from Empire Strikes Back for all we know. Not that I expect that, but
he's supposed to be in The Mandalorian.
Right, so it's a spin-off of The Mandalorian. There you go.
It's just there's so many rumors and stuff, but we really don't know. We do know we've got the Clone Wars. We do know we've got Mandalorian. We know we've got Captain Caspian. Those are the officially ones, and we're going to see a lot more on it. Personally, at the minute, I've been watching Star Wars Rebels. I've been watching that on Disney Life. I'm currently into season 3. My aim is to finish Rebels off. I want to catch up on the Clone Wars as well once I've done with Rebels. It was like, I know, one of those weird things that go, yeah, I want to catch up on this. So before Clone Wars season 7 comes out, I need to go through the other 5 seasons because I only watched season 1. And one of those mistakes I made of just going, this is a kid's show, I don't like season 1, and I never went back to it. And now I'm there going, yeah, I really missed out on the boat on this. So that's my own little personal thing lately. But yeah, so like I said, lots of Star Wars rumors. We're going to see a lot more of this before Star Wars Celebration. But yeah, so that was that one. So there was another little rumor this week. This one come out via the Hollywood Reporter. There was this whole article about this. You know, there's a lot of streaming articles going on because the streaming wars are kind of revving up with Apple and Netflix, etc. Now, according to one of their analysts at the BTIG, Richard Greenfield, he estimates that Disney Plus will launch on October the 1st with a cost of $7 a month, and will sign up about 2 million subscribers by the end of the year. Now, this is what I pulled out from the article because I thought, hold on, you've got an analyst from the Hollywood Reporter. And I'm thinking, well, actually, we kind of nearly made almost the same thing ourselves last week when Triple Force Friday was announced. That's on October the 4th with all the Mandalorian shows. And I was thinking, October the 1st is actually a Tuesday. They've said late 2019. I'm thinking October the 1st doesn't sound too far off.
It's questionable whether it sounds far off or not. Ask me any given day if it sounds far off, but yeah, it doesn't actually sound that far off because when we're talking like movie and production timelines, it's not very far at all. So I don't know, it seems like all right news.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing of like I was like October the 1st. It's like, well, it kind of lined up with what they sort of with that Triple Force event, and I'm like, if this analyst, I mean, whether or not it launches on a Tuesday, I don't know. It kind of seemed a bit of an odd one, but hopefully we will find out the launch date on April the 11th when they do the investor. They've got to get to a point soon of like announcing pricing, and they've already said it's going to be cheaper than Netflix, so $7 a month. It's kind of in line with Hulu. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, yeah, October the 1st. It sounds good to me. Obviously, I'd like it more like, you know, when they say late 2019, when does that start? That's any time from July through to the end of December. So I think October sounds like a good time, but hopefully we'll find that out soon. But what we do know is this past week, Disney released a new short called Kitbull. part of their Pixar Sparkshorts series. It was the third one. It kind of released on YouTube. It's kind of odd because I'm not sure as of time of the recording whether or not we are going to get the fourth one, or if they are, because online they showed off six episodes, and then they said the first three are going to be on YouTube, and they showed off the first three ones, and it was a bit like, well, what about these other three you've shown? And they've been talking a lot about Disney Plus. At the end of each short, they put up a trailer going, more of these are going to be available on Disney Plus. So it's kind of thing, when this show goes out, there might have been a fourth one, but I'm not expecting it. I'm kind of, the way I was reading the press release, it kind of very much felt like these three were like previews.
Yeah, I was kind of viewing it the same way, as you get these three for free. If you want the other three, you're going to have to come to Disney Plus. I would love to get the other three, or maybe they'll release them closer to Disney Plus to kind of rebuild up some hype or whatever. But yeah, I'm not expecting it to come out this week, but I would love it if it did. So far they've been pretty good.
It's been nice having kind of like content, and we know it's coming to Disney Plus. It's been very nice, I think, for actually just for February, just to kind of get, they've been putting out this little beat about, something for Disney Plus, and it's like, yeah, they are ramping up they could have held these back probably for much nearer the time, but it's been quite cool. I mean, for Kitbull itself, we'll jump into the review bit now. That was a real heartbreaker. That one really got me. I literally sat there and watched the end of it, tears running down. I'm like going, oh my word! Like, this one really is like, you take a dog story and make a story about dogs being hurt. That just hits people on such, they could kill people off in a TV series, but I don't think you hurt the dog and you're like blubbering. It's like this one I was such a different level on the other ones.
Yeah, this is far and away my favorite of the three. It is a dog story. It is a cat story. I actually view it as a cat story rather than as a dog story. But I think that you can view it either way, and you're probably going to lean towards, is it a cat story or is it a dog story, based on your own animal history, like pets and whatnot. I've got two cats. They're sitting right here. So for me, the tendency is to go to the kitty side. But yeah, there is the dog story too. Both of these two characters have an arc. The cat starts out as skittish and, terrified of everything, and he's hissing at the dog, or she's hissing at the dog, and then they start playing with the cap, and then you find out the dog is in a fighting ring. It's that's based on what I figured was it's a dog fighting ring, and that took the story from like, oh, this is so kind of sad, to, oh, this is terrible, this is awful, these are horrible things happening to these dogs. I'm going to visit righteous anger on this jerk with the chain. And you can argue maybe that it's a little cliche. It relies heavily on tropes, but it's also only like 8 minutes long. It doesn't have the time to build up without tropes. But yeah, this hit all the notes that I wanted. It's still more mature than you're expecting from a Pixar movie, just like Pearl was. But this one, I think, hit better than Pearl did. And I don't know if I can watch it again, honestly. It's like Grave of the Fireflies or something like that, where I'm like, this is a fantastic movie that I will never see again. Saving Private Ryan's another one.
It was an odd one because it's like, I remember watching like Smash and Grab like 3 or 4 times. I watched Peril the same. Kitbull, I kind of got to the end and like, yeah, I don't need to watch that again. It's like, because like, no, I got it. It hit you. It got that story going. I'm just like, and there's that thing of, if you're a kid and you're watching it, you might not understand what's going on. You're just seeing this dog is hurt and it's the owner doing it or something like that. You might not be going, he's doing something. But that whole thing of the dog just wants affection and is looking for it, and, isn't worried about the cat, isn't fighting with the cat, isn't bothered at all. And then the fact that it ends up with, being, picked up from the streets and being looked after. I'm looking to get a dog later this year. So this is the thing. If there's probably that thing of, it hit that mark. And yeah, the animation wise, it was a little bit like scratchy. It wasn't as much polished, but it kind of worked after you kind of, within 30 seconds, you'd kind of lost that bit. It was a bit, I remember starting going, it was a bit sketchy, and then like, no, it worked on it. And then it was nice as well, because it wasn't your traditional Pixar computer generated graphics, because like Smash and Grab was so polished because that was a real polished version. This was rough and ready, but the story just broke through that, and I think that was what was great about it.
And the style worked for the story too. It reminds me a lot of the Disney short, which I can't remember the name of, but it also has a dog, and it's not anything like this. It's the dog and the owner gets a girlfriend, and it changes the dog's diet because he's used to getting all the leftovers off of the plate. I can't remember the name. It's actually showing in Epcot at the at where Captain EO used to be.
Oh,
right. So it goes alongside the Mickey Mouse short, and also the one with the bird from the Pixar did. The more recent one, not the one with them on the telephone poles. But either way, it's got that style of art, which works really well for this story. It is a little scratchy. There aren't as many frames per second as you're used to, although that's becoming more common too. Dragon Prince on Netflix has a lower frame rate, and of course, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse had a lower frame rate. So this is becoming a trend. I don't want it to be a trend. It's actually really annoying. But I got past it for this movie, this short. It worked, and after the first 45 seconds, I didn't notice it anymore. I was just so invested in the story of this cat and this dog.
Yeah, that short was called Feast. I just looked it up.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I love this stuff. I mean, we talked earlier, Boy-One, an animated short. Disney are great at making shorts. It's what they started with. It's what they built the business on, was building these shorts way back when Walt started the company. It kind of is that thing of these Pixar Sparkshorts are they are great. I mean, as of, I don't know how many views it had up. I know it seemed to be way up on the other ones, this dog one. I think it really caught on with people. And it's, unsurprisingly, really.
Yeah, there is an adage in Hollywood: you don't kill the dog. In almost any movie, except for like John Wick, where the killing of the dog is the inciting event, you don't kill the dog. You don't kill the cat. We as a race are very much like what you described earlier. You can do awful things to people in movies. You can do awful things to kids in movies. You don't touch the dog. Yeah. You don't touch the cat. You will lose the audience if you do that. And this entire short is the plight of the cat and the plight of the dog, and they're two very different plights. And then that kind of catharsis moment at the end where like they're free, they made it. Sorry if I spoiled it, but I think you can kind of figure that out on your own. Right. And I'll add one last little bit here. I saw this less than 24 hours after seeing How to Train Your Dragon 3, and it was just like a double gut punch of like I'm crying far too much this week over movies, over animated movies about dragons and dogs and cats. It's too much.
The thing is, like, I remember sitting on a plane watching Marley and Me. It was on like one of the ones that was on rotation, so everyone was watching at the same time. And obviously, you get to that bit where everyone's like, the dog dies, and the entire plane was just weeping. It's just like people crying because of the dog, and it was just that thing of it does it. And now this is just going to show you of what the difference is with these shorts, right? So I'm going to show you here the Pixar page. So Pearl, 6.6 million people watched it. Smash and Grab was 2 million.
That's pretty good.
Kitbull, 12 million. I mean, that is a massive shift between the 3 episodes. I mean, obviously, you got these makings of in the middle of it all, but 12 million, because Kitbull must have been shared so much more because of that human. Personally, I think Smash and Grab was better than Pearl. Which is it's a shame that it's so much less, but from 2 million last week to 12 million for Kitbull, that's a big difference. And Smash and Grab's been out an extra week over the other ones.
Yeah, and not to get like too much into the superficial side of things, you look at the thumbnails on those ones. Pearl's at least, It's weird. It's a ball of yarn with a smile, and it's holding a box. That kind of draws you in on that one. Kitbull is a cute little cat playing with an orange soda cap. Even if you don't know anything about the story, even if you don't, if no one has said to you, Kitbull is a gut punch, it's about a cat and a dog in a terrible situation, you just look at that thumbnail and you're like, I'm going to watch this, especially because it's got Pixar on it. You're like, Pixar and a cat, oh, we're in there. The smash and grab picture is like, what is that? It's two robots fighting. Is this like the Rock'em Sock'em robots or something? It's not a good thumbnail. And I know that, there's a whole don't judge a book by its cover, but when we're talking YouTube or any form of media like this, you need a thumbnail that is going to grab people and go, I want to see what this is. And this is why we get so many clickbait, titles, because 10 tricks that Pixar doesn't want you to know or whatever nonsense. But when you look at it, you're just like, oh, I have no idea what this is from the thumbnail. I'm just going to keep on going with my life.
Yeah, I mean, Disney are really going to have to up their game when it comes to Disney Plus for this, because you flick through like Netflix and Amazon and Now TV, etc. That thumbnail, and they change them as well, because that's the other trick that Netflix do. They change the thumbnail every now and again to make it look like they've got something new. So they change. You got the thumbnail, but also you have that big banner when you click over it, the whole screen changes. And you get the trailer running and all the rest of it. And that's what Disney are going to have to do with Disney Plus, because the thumbnail can have that big impact of whether or not you watched it. Now, I do think the Kitbull, not only is it the thumbnail, I just think this thing got shared. I think this thing was picked
absolutely.
up. I think people were like, they watched it, they were upset, and then they loved it, and then they said, hey, you need to watch this. Or Bob, oh, you've got a cat, watch this. You've got a dog, But you can see the power of those shorts. 12, that's a big, they've got to be sitting there at the office looking at the numbers and going, that Kitbull was the biggest success. It was twice that of Pearl, and Pearl's been out for 3 weeks. And I think Kitbull will continue to grow. That's just gonna keep growing. That's just, it's, to have these shorts out, it's a great kickoff for Disney Plus for their content, because this is, I hope we see more than those 3 episodes. This is something I hope they continue to build on, because this is great content for Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's also worth keeping in mind, of course, that Pearl was the first one. There's always more press about the first one. So, people are like, oh, let's check this thing out. And maybe people didn't like Pearl, or it wasn't to their taste, or feminism, blah, blah, whatever nonsense. Because it's got a very specific message, which, if you're not in on that message, is going to be kind of, inciting. But, the second week comes around and like smash and grab, the hype isn't quite the same amount because it's the second week. And, we did the first week. Maybe you liked Pearl. Maybe you didn't like Pearl. Maybe you just forgot that it even existed. You didn't know there was going to be a second one. So, yeah, it's not a surprise to see the drop off. But then Kitbull just through the roof. And I think you're right. I think a lot of it has to do with sharing and being like, you have to watch this incredible short that they made. So, of the 3, not just on the viewer count, this is the best of the 3 shorts that they have shown us so far. And if they can maintain this level of quality, not even the level of Kitbull, just of of all 3 of them, because they are all 3 very, very good products when you get down to it. 4, 5, and 6 plus whatever comes in the future, I'm very much interested in seeing what they've got.
And I hope they do this thing as well of where they release them individually. I'd have hated for all 6 of these to have just dropped at once on Disney Plus. Make it an event. Make it, this is it. This is the big thing. This story of on a Monday. Like, okay, it's only 8 minutes, 7 minutes. It's not going to take a lot for people to watch, but I wouldn't have liked for them all to have dropped at once, because they need their time to shine. And this is not each one is its own separate entity, and I think it's great. I think this has been a very big surprise. Would not have expected this thing to have dropped early on. It's in some way, I don't think they made a big enough drum about the fact that he's being Disney Plus. Maybe they'll do that a bit later on. Maybe the idea is that these things just naturally grow in numbers over the summer and kind of build towards it. But yeah, it's great. It's been nice as well just to have new content. Like, there's something exciting to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be the Pixar shorts only came out when the Pixar movies came out. We would, and getting the shorts was just as exciting as the movies in some cases. I think that there's actually been a little bit of a fall off in recent years where they haven't been quite as good. They've been a bit more experimental. Like we had the Indian superhero one. We talked earlier about the dumpling one. I did really click with.
Yeah, I love the bird one when it was running in the night.
Oh yeah,
water.
Piper.
Yeah,
that one's also at Epcot, and that one's fantastic, both visually and just from the story. It's got the humor bits to it. It's got the touching bits to it. But yeah, they then went very experimental, and they did the Indian superhero one, which was I vaguely remember liking. I don't actually remember it very well. And then of course the dumpling one, which I was just like, I don't know what I just watched. This is a very disturbing bit.
It's funny with that one because Disney kind of put that one out as like a freebie for a week on YouTube and then pulled it down kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with these ones, whether or not they're going to keep them up on YouTube, whether or not they do remove them. I mean, they sort of said they'll be available on YouTube. But yeah, I think these are great. A great kind of preview really of like what Disney Plus has been on. And it's been nice, like I said, the last 3 weeks to actually be able to kind of talk about actually watching something. But we'd love to know your thoughts. Now I did put out a quick note on Kickbull. Just put out a quick note asking people for their opinions. We had quite a few lots of likes, lots of people like talking, but not anything kind of too sort of stand out just from the point of Kickbull and stuff. But yeah, so just be aware of that. We will be doing that obviously once Disney Plus launches. When we talk about our reviews of the shows, we will be kind of asking for your input as well. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you do subscribe on the YouTube channel. Make sure you do check us out on all the audio platforms. Like us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up with all the latest. Big thank you to everybody over on the Facebook page. Thing has been fantastic. We hit over 5,000 people have joined us over there now, and that's continuing to grow. But you can follow us on all the bits and pieces. Same thing with the YouTube channel. That's kind of tripled in numbers in the past few weeks as well. So big thank you to everyone joining us there. And James, where can they find you?
Find me heroiclegacy.com.
And on that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back soon. Later.